Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Sternglas Naos XL. This watch is available from sternglas.com for €399. Sternglas are a well-established microbrand. They were founded in 2016 and they're based in Hamburg in Germany. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a cardboard watch box which is protected by this cardboard sleeve. One removes the sleeve. And this is the watch box, and as you can see at the base it says designed in Hamburg because Sternglas are based in Hamburg. Now I'm going to be critical of this because we're looking at a €399 price point piece, and I think at this price point Sternglas could do better than the default option of a cardboard watch box. I would like to see a plastic or alternatively vinyl coated watch box or a PU or vinyl leather travel case at this price point to improve the presentation. So as you can see, the watch sits inside the drawer on a piece of plastic which is also cardboard coated to match the box base. So good presentation. The design of it is good, but I just think in terms of materials they can improve upon using cardboard and use something better quality because that would better enhance the piece. But the quality of the cardboard watch box is acceptable. So with regards to the items, this is the owner's instruction manual, which is in the form of a card. So it has a QR code you can scan with your iPhone or Android, and that will download the owner's instruction manual in English. So clear, concise diagrams, the instructions are in English, and it details the operation of the movement used, which is the Miyota Caliber 8215 automatic. So this is one of the two warranty cards that come with the watch, and I'm pleased to report that the Naos XL we're going to be looking at is covered by a 2-year international warranty, which is very good. Often at this price point in the low tier, €399, one would expect a 12-month international warranty. To get 2 years of warranty is very good at this price point. And this is the second warranty card, which is in German for German collectors. So it's good they've included both versions, both the English and German versions of the warranty cards. And lastly, one also gets this booklet, and as you can see it shows the Sternglas staff and it says thank you for your order, and inside it also has a discount code you can use yourself or alternatively pass it on to a friend, and this discount code will give you 5% off your next purchase on sternglas.com. And on the reverse it has a QR code you can scan with your iPhone or Android to download more information about the Sternglas brand and also the contact details of the brand, such as their email address and their website. So very nice to get this included. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 42mm case diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 46.3mm, a thickness of 13mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The genuine leather strap, which has a nice matte finish to the chocolate brown colour, tapers from 20mm down to the buckle and tang. And as you can see, the buckle is signed to a high standard with this Sternglas logo engraved in high definition engraving. Nice heavy gauge to the solid 316L grade stainless steel buckle. Flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks. No sharp corners to it, doesn't have any sharp edges, so it's deburred and chamfered to a very good standard, and I like the quality of the finishing. It is very aesthetically pleasing. We have a double dome sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the curved underside to the double dome sapphire crystal. Nice low profile dome to it, so one doesn't get a magnification or distortion effect when viewing the piece at an oblique angle as per a single dome crystal, because this is curved on the underside as it's a double dome sapphire crystal. It's not too thick and therefore it doesn't provide too much magnification or distortion. As you can see, clarity is good at all angles, so it's very high quality sapphire crystal. The legibility of the dial and the handset is very good, and when you look at the piece straight on, there is no distortion whatsoever. So that's the benefit of using a double dome sapphire crystal rather than single dome, which is flat on the underside. Now looking at the dial, you can see it is the classic Bauhaus minimalist dial design. This is pure Bauhaus design personified. I love the minimalist stick hands and also the printed dial. Just the right amount of information, it doesn't look too busy or cluttered. We simply have Sternglas Zeitmesser at 12 o'clock and then automatic at 6 o'clock. So just enough information on the piece. This is purist Bauhaus design. So I like the symmetry of the dial and also the date complication at 6 rather than putting it at the default position of 3 because it retains the balance and the symmetry of the dial. And also I like the symmetry of the printed Arabic numerals at 12, 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. So it's good they used even numbers because it retains the Bauhaus design and the symmetry of the dial rather than using, for example, 12, 9, 6 and 3, which is the other default option. Quality of the printing is very good. It's high definition, it's sharp and crisp, it's not blurry, and I like their fonts, which is nice and fine. Often with German brands, they have a tendency to use a thick font for the logo and the text on the dial, and it's not high definition and crisp. But if you look at the fine minute ticks on the chaptering and also the fine lines on the dial for the hour marks on the indices, you can see it's very high definition, it's very sharp printing, and I like the sharpness of the fonts, the fact it's very fine, and also it's not too large. Again, often it's the case with micro brands. They have a tendency to make the logo and the emblem on the dial too large at 12 o'clock, but this is minimalist, it's nice and small, and also Zeitmesser is smaller than the main logo of Sternglas. So they've got the proportions and the layout of the dial very well because this totally captures the essence of purist Bauhaus design. The blued hands are very nice because they contrast very well with the matte white dial and they add interest to it rather than just using the default option of black handset or alternatively silver mirror polished. The blued hands, they catch the light, but they're also very good in terms of legibility. There's a good contrast between the matte white background of the dial and also the contrasting matte blue finish to the handset. They've also made the correct decision by not heat treating the handset and bluing them with a metallic finish because that would make them shiny. They've made them a very matte finish, which is quite dark. It's like almost a navy blue. It's a royal blue colour, and I think the colour tone is very aesthetically pleasing. The thing I like about the hands is the proportions. They're long enough. Often with Bauhaus design watches, they make the handset undersized. Of course, they have to be minimalist and stick hands to fit the aesthetic of a Bauhaus design, but the hands are often slightly short. But if you look at the minute hand, you can see it extends all the way to the minute ticks on the chaptering and even the hour indices. The hour hand also extends all the way to the hour indices, and the minute hand is long enough to extend all the way to the minute ticks on the chaptering, but also the hour indices as well. So correct length of hands, they're nice and long and they don't look too short or under proportions, bearing in mind their stick profile and very thin and slender. I also like the details like spelling automatic in German rather than English with a C. It has a K for automatic, so it's nice because this is a German watch and of course it should have German spelling rather than English. Right, so let's look at the strap. Chocolate brown. Lovely tone to it, which is matte. It almost looks like suede. It's got that kind of matte finish rather than glossy. Lovely chocolate brown tone to it. Feels very soft and supple. It doesn't need any breaking in to become comfortable. This is the kind of suppleness one feels with a strap that's broken in if you've had it for years and worn it daily. So it's got that nice, soft, supple feel. Feels very fine, like cordovan shell leather or alternatively calf leather. That's the feeling of it, and I like the tone of it. The chocolate brown is very aesthetically pleasing. Plenty of holes in it to allow for fine tuning the length. So the thing I like about Sternglas is you can choose two different strap lengths, standard or XL. Now, when I requested this piece, I requested the XL version because, as you know from my previous reviews, I have a large 8-inch wrist, and I'm pleased to report that this does indeed fit my 8-inch wrist. So the standard length strap will fit a 6 to 7-inch wrist, and the XL version you're going to be looking at in this review fits a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches respectively. But as you can see, plenty of holes, so this will fit from a 7 to an 8-inch wrist. On the underside, it's very nicely finished with a contrasting tan tone to the liner, and it's embossed with Sternglas to a good standard, as you can see. Good quality finishing to it. It is a nice thick strap, so it's going to be durable, but it does feel nice and soft and supple. Now, credit where credit's due. Sternglas have made the correct decision by using quick release stainless steel spring bars rather than conventional standard spring bars, and this negates the need for using a spring bar tool. Often it's the case with daily wear pieces or dress pieces with polished lugs. It is difficult with a thick leather strap to get a spring bar in between the edge of the strap and in between the lug. And what can happen is you can scuff and scratch the mirror polish finishing to the lugs, and by having quick release spring bars you don't need to use a spring bar tool, and therefore you can easily remove the strap and exchange it and without damaging the lug. So they've made the correct decision. It's good to see quick release spring bars. On the other side, it's also embossed, as you can see, and it says Hergestellt in Deutschland, which means made in Germany. So the strap is genuine leather, and as you can see, the strap is also made in Germany because it's embossed with Hergestellt in Deutschland. So 2 keepers on the strap, as one would expect. One slides and one is fixed, which is good, and the proportions of the keepers are correct, nice and thick, so they're going to be robust and last for a good length of time. So let's look at the caseback. We have a screwed down caseback rather than a screw down caseback or a pushed on caseback, 6 flathead screws which are mirror polished to a good standard, and the circumference of the metal portion to the caseback is solid 316L grade stainless steel. Nice domed profile to it, and it's mirror polished to a flawless standard. It's engraved with the reference number and specification of the piece, and also Sternglas. And the engraving is very high definition and sharp. It's very fine, which fits the aesthetic of a Bauhaus piece, but also it is very aesthetically pleasing. No sharp edges to the engraving, so they've done a very good job of polishing the stainless steel portion of the exhibition caseback. The centre section is glazed with mineral crystal, which is very good. Clarity is good, as you can see. Does a good job of displaying the Miyota caliber 8215 automatic. Now, it is a sterile and undecorated movement, and it's not particularly interesting to look at as a result. But however, I do appreciate that they've used an exhibition caseback because some collectors like to see the automatic movement inside the piece. However, I think they could do a better job of decorating it. For example, they could print on the Sternglas logo on the rotor, or alternatively engrave the rotor with Sternglas, and that would further enhance the piece because the 8215 is undecorated. It's a very sterile and plain movement, and I think they should sign it, at least on the rotor, with a printed or engraved Sternglas logo, because that would just add some interest to it. Now, the other thing is, I would like to see a better grade of movement used, such as the Miyota caliber 9015 or 9019 respectively, a premium grade, because the caliber 8215 is part of the 8000 series of Miyota movement, so it is a based model. And the negative is it does have a noisy rotor, and of course it is undecorated. With the 9015, it has milled stripes on the bridge to the movement, and therefore it's more aesthetically pleasing and it's better to look at. So if you're going to use an exhibition caseback, I think it's nice if you have a higher grade of movement to show off with the exhibition caseback. So it provides 30 metres of hermetic seal, which is perfectly acceptable for a daily wear piece, and the flat centre section to it is good because it's very smooth and comfortable against the wrist. So the stainless steel portion of it has a bubble back profile, but the actual centre section, which is glazed with mineral crystal, has a nice flat and smooth profile, and that means it's very comfortable to wear against the wrist for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. The underside to the head of the piece has flawless mirror polishing. The undercuts to the flanks are nicely polished, no sharp edges whatsoever, and the tips of the lugs have been nicely deburred and chamfered, so there's no sharp corners on the edge of the lugs. So quality of the mirror polishing throughout on the head of the piece is exceptional. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, as I've detailed, one thing I like about Sternglas is you can choose between a standard length strap or an XL. Now, this piece is the Sternglas Naos XL. It's the large version of the Naos. It's 42mm, so therefore one would expect it to be meant for collectors with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches or plus. It's good they include a longer strap, the XL, as you can see, and even with my large 8-inch wrist, there are 2 spare holes for a larger wrist, and there is enough length to engage the end of the XL strap in both of the keepers. The first fixed one, just bear with me and I'll engage both. So, as you can see, I can engage the end of the strap in both the fixed keeper and the sliding keeper, and this is the correct length for an 8-inch wrist. So it's good. You can have a standard strap if you have a smaller 6 to 7-inch wrist, or you can have the XL strap if you have a larger 7 to 8-inch wrist, and there are enough holes on both straps to fit the 6 and 7-inch wrist size or the 7 to 8-inch wrist, as per this XL strap you're looking at. Proportions of the strap are good, 20mm with a slight taper down to the buckle and tang, and the width of the buckle and tang looks correct. So I like the slight taper rather than just having a straight and parallel strap. It does balance the head of the piece very well. Now, above all else, the thing that does surprise me about this piece, and it's something I really like, is the lack of heft. This is only 69 grams on the leather strap. Now bear in mind it is a large head of the piece and we're looking at an automatic. 69 grams is the kind of lack of heft one would expect with a quartz powered piece, or alternatively a manual wind movement piece, not an automatic. Automatics are heavier, and of course at 42mm it is a large diameter head of the piece. One would expect this to be in excess of 90 grams, but 69 means it's very comfortable to wear despite the wrist presence for long periods of time. So you can wear this for 8 to 12 hours per day, and it feels very well balanced rather than being top heavy, and also it feels nice because it's low profile. 13mm is the sweet spot. I often refer to this in my reviews because it will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. So although it does have a double dome sapphire crystal with a nice low profile, as you can see, very aesthetically pleasing, it is still only 13mm, even though it has an exhibition caseback. Using an exhibition caseback does add some thickness. If they used a stainless steel caseback, that would reduce the thickness, but of course that's the negative of having an exhibition caseback. Even though it does have a flat centre section, it does add some thickness. So 13 is perfection. Does have wrist presence, but will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff. Now, if you have a smaller 6 to 7 inch wrist, you may find the 42mm head of the piece wears with too much wrist presence for your liking, so I would recommend the standard Naos. This is the XL version, which is 42mm. If you have a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches or above, I would recommend the XL version of the Naos. The mirror polishing to the bezel is very aesthetically pleasing because it's low profile. It has a nice domed curved profile to it rather than being flat, and that does accentuate the double dome sapphire crystal. Also like the contrast of the angular lugs. Rather than being curved lugs, they have a nice angular profile, and this really is brutalist, and I think that it captures the essence of Bauhaus design. The minimalist dial design is pure Bauhaus, but then we've also got the brutalist angles of the lugs, so that really contrasts with all the curved aspects of the case. So it really is Bauhaus design personified. I like the brutalist angular lugs, but also the minimalist low profile bezel and the low profile double dome sapphire crystal with a stick handset, as you can see, which contrasts in blue. So good looking piece, feel good factor is good, comfort level is exceptional, 69 grams is very comfortable, 13mm is good. The thing to note is, although it's a large head of the piece at 42, it does have a relatively short, compact 46.3 lug to lug with the angular lugs. Now the angular lugs do angle down around the wrist very well, so it doesn't sit on top of the wrist like a slab of 316L grade stainless steel. It does wrap around the wrist very well. Now the thing is, 48mm is the sweet spot, regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. So at 46.3 it is compact, the lug to lug is well below the 48mm sweet spot, so this will still be suitable if you have a smaller 6 to 7 inch wrist, but I would recommend the standard Naos rather than this Naos XL if you have a small wrist. So comfort level is good, feel good factor is good, finishing is excellent, no sharp edges to the case, and the exhibition caseback is also very smooth and flat. So it does feel like a very comfortable piece at 69 grams. So let's test the crown execution. Push-pull crown, coin edge finished, solid 316L grade stainless steel, and signed to a good standard with the Sternglas emblem, as you can see. Quality of the engraving to the signed crown is very good, high definition, no sharp edges to it, and it's got a nice mirror polished domed cap to it, and they've done a good job of chamfering the ends of the coin edge teeth. No sharp edges to the tips of the coin edge finishing, but it does feel very grippy and tactile, so you can get good purchase with your index finger and thumb in order to manually wind it. So, as it's a push-pull crown, in the closed position you can manually wind the Miyota Caliber 8215 automatic to its maximum 42-hour power reserve. This is the benefit of not having a screw-down crown on a daily wear piece. You don't need to unscrew the crown in order to set the time, in order to manually wind the piece. So, In the closed position, we can manually wind it to its maximum 42-hour power reserve. Nice light resistance to the caliber 8215. It's a characteristic. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up, but it's got a nice smooth light resistance to it. Feels nice and smooth to manually wind. Absolute pleasure. So, pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. So if you look at the date window at 6 o'clock, you can see that it's now clicking over to the next day of the month. Nice solid indexing, which is a characteristic of the caliber 8215. It feels lighter in terms of the quick set complication. The resistance, the clicking mechanism, the indexing feels lighter than a Seiko NH35A, which you'll all be familiar with. And I like the feeling of it. It does take some getting used to if you're used to the heavier click, the heavier indexing of an NH35A. The 8215 does feel lighter, but every click is nice and solid. The thing I like about it is the proportions. They've done a good job with the white date wheel with contrasting black Arabic numerals, because the font is nice and fine, it's not too thick and heavy, and the Arabic numerals aren't blurry. They are high definition. You can clearly see each day of the month. The other thing that's correct is the alignment of the Arabic numerals. They're not too far to the left or right, and they're not too high up or down, because bear in mind this is a vertical date wheel at 6 o'clock. We're looking at the Arabic numerals vertically, but you can see the alignment is correct, both left to right and up and down. The size of the date window is large enough to see even the double Arabic numerals clearly. So legibility is good, clarity of the dial and also the date complication is good. I like the quick set complication. Pulling it out to second click position hacks the movement. If you look at the second hand, you can see it's now stopped dead, so it's possible to set the time precisely to the second with the caliber 8215. Nice light resistance to the gearing in the 8215. Feels smooth both clockwise and anti-clockwise, so it feels good when you cycle through the 12 hours to set the time. Now, minimal backplay. This is something I like about the 8215. When you rotate the crown clockwise and anti-clockwise, there's an immediate response. It doesn't have a lot of slack in the gearing, as you can see. When I rotate the crown, the minute hand immediately responds. So it's a nice, tight, robust movement. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. You can see the second hand begins to sweep around the dial once again at the characteristic 3 Hz sweep of 21,600 vibrations per hour. Now, the negative of the 8215 running at 3 Hz versus 4 Hz is the second hand stutters or judders around the dial. With an NH35A, for example, that also runs at 3 Hz. I personally prefer the smoother sweep of a 4 Hz movement running at 28,800 vibrations per hour. But however, this is subjective. For the majority of collectors, they don't mind the stutter or judder of a 3 Hz sweep, but I think a smoother sweep is more aesthetically pleasing. But unfortunately, that's something you have to live with 3 Hz movements such as this 8215, the stutter or judder of the second hand. So, movement works well, hand winding works well, quick set complication, hacking and also time setting. It is a reliable, well-proven workhorse Japanese-made caliber. So, let's discuss the movement used, which is my favourite aspect of the piece. So, you'll all be familiar with the Miyota Caliber 8215 automatic, which is made in Japan. It has 21 joules, and as I've detailed, it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, which useful complications, and a quick set date complication, which I've demonstrated works very well. The negative of it is, it has a noisy rotor. When the rotor spins, you can hear it on wrist, and that's something that is subjective. Some collectors don't find this to be irritating, some collectors do find it to be annoying, and it's something you have to bear in mind. The 8000 series of Miyota movements, such as the 8215 we're looking at, does have a noisy rotor. You can hear it, it is audible when it spins round and it's manually winding. Now, I would like to see a higher grade of movement used, such as the Miyota 9015 or the 9019, because they are a premium grade of Miyota caliber. Higher quality, better build quality, finishing and materials, and quality control. They also have a quieter rotor and a more low profile, so this piece could be reduced from 13 down to 12mm or less. But this uses a 8215, which has a 42-hour power reserve, and the stated accuracy of the 8215 is -20 to +40 seconds per day. So a rather wide accuracy range, -20 to +40. However, I'm pleased to report that Sternglas are doing a good job of regulating the 8215s they're using. This one is running consistently, at plus 6 seconds per day, which is actually within chronometer limits of -4 to +6. So +6 is well within the -20 to +40 seconds per day stated accuracy, and it is very good. It is perfectly acceptable for an 8215 to be regulated in 5 positions to +6, accurate, reliable, robust. So it's a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement which is made in Japan. No negatives to it. The build quality, quality control, reliability are very good. It is well proven. The negative only really is the noisy rotor. That is the only negative to it. So really I would like to see at this price point Sternglas upgrade it to the 9015 because it's decorated with milled stripes, but also it's 4 Hz. It runs at 28,800 and of course smoother sweep to the second hand as a result, and it's just a higher grade of movement in terms of quality with a quieter rotor. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meets 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So we're looking at a low tier piece. The price point is €399. This does face some stiff competition in the low tier at the €399 price point. So therefore, at this price point, in order to be competitive, to be excellent quality and excellent value, it needs a higher grade of movement, such as the Miyota Caliber 9015 or the 9019, respectively. That would justify the €399. The quality control, build quality, finishing are excellent with this piece. The Bauhaus design is purist. It is the perfect example of Bauhaus design. The dial and also the minimalist handset, the symmetry of the dial, the printing of the text, everything about it is purist Bauhaus design personified. I like the proportions, 42 by 13, and the double dome sapphire crystal is excellent. The quality is good. Clarity and the AR coating is very good. Exhibition caseback is good. So really the only negative, the only disappointment is the grade of movement, the 8215. It is acceptable to use the 8215 on pieces that cost €200, but when you get to €399, it has to be a Miyota 9000 series. It needs to have a premium grade of Miyota caliber, such as the 9015. So I'm going to declare it OK quality, and I'm going to declare it OK value at €399. In order for it to be excellent quality and excellent value at €399, it would need a higher grade of movement. The 9015 or the 9019 would make it excellent quality and excellent value. So I'm hoping that Sternglas upgrade the Naos XL to a higher grade of movement, and that would justify it. So I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Sternglas Naos XL. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.